everyone, my name is Nadine and I'm the Associate Director of GSEP Career Services. If you're watching this presentation, you've likely graduated recently or you will be graduating soon. Congratulations! Today we'll be talking about how to prepare for your job search and network effectively to land your dream job. I always like to start off by turning inwards and doing a bit of reflection. So take a moment and ask yourself how you're feeling about graduating. What feeling dominates? Some of you might be nervous, anxious, overwhelmed. Others might be excited, eager, relieved. There's probably a range of emotions and responses, and one is not better than the other. However you're feeling today, take a moment to simply acknowledge it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how clear do you feel about your next step in your career? 1 being not clear at all, and 10 being crystal clear. Again, there might be a range of responses here, and it's okay to still be figuring it out or not sure yet. So whether you're a 1 or a 10, we're here to help support you on your career journey. And our hope is that this presentation will give you some tools and action items to help you feel more confident in your job search. So this is our agenda for today. We'll start off with walking through an exercise to help you clarify your career goal. Then we'll look at employment data to give you an idea of what's out there. And lastly, we will talk about next steps in terms of networking and job searching. We're going to start this presentation with thinking about your career goal. It's important to begin clarifying this because the answers to these questions will determine who you network with, where you apply, and how you professionally brand yourself. These questions can help you develop a specific and unique career goal and really think about your next move. So let's first look at this example on the screen. What does this information tell you about this person? At first glance, it probably seems good. Many people wouldn't see a problem with it. But notice how brief and vague it is. This information would probably translate to a pretty broad job search. And I want you to think to yourself, if you were in a networking relationship with this person, would you have enough information to refer them to an appropriate place? Would you have enough information to help them? Probably, but it could be difficult. So now I want you to contrast that last slide with this one. You may have thought the last slide was strong, but when you see the difference between these two examples, you'll notice that this one is much stronger. It's thorough, it's specific, and it's very unique to the person. It's not vague or general like the last one. This is what it looks like when we take the information from the table and write it out in the form of a career objective. The first example would result in the top career objective. Again, it's vague and it's broad. And the second example would result in this bottom career objective. You can see the difference here in these two statements. And so why is this important, you might be wondering? It's important to have a clear career objective like the second one, which is specific and detailed for 2 reasons. The first reason is for yourself, so you know where to look and how to target your job search. A specific targeted job search will be more successful than an unplanned broad one. And the second reason is for potential employers, for them to get a clear sense of who you are and what you're all about. And this can also be the foundation of the tell me about yourself question in an interview, the foundation of your answer to that question. You'll come off as a stronger candidate when you have a strong goal and a sense of what you want and who you are. It can also be a starting point for your professional branding and can be helpful for things like writing your bio. So let's revisit this and actually fill it out together. There's a worksheet that goes along with this presentation, so please feel free to download it right now and pause the video as we go along to fill in each column as we go through together. So the first question, what do I want to do? This refers to work activities. For example, do you want to provide couple therapy and focus on treating dysfunctional relationships? Do you want to do EMDR and trauma-focused therapy? Do you want to be part of an interdisciplinary team of service providers, etc.? Think of daily tasks and what you want to be involved in on a daily basis. The second question, where do I want to do it? So where do you want to be located geographically? This can refer to your actual physical location. Some examples can be low income or underserved areas, the greater LA area, Sacramento, wherever that might be. But this can also refer to the type of work setting that you want to be in. So for example, it could be community mental health, the Department of Mental Health, meaning DMH, a residential facility, a private practice? What type of work setting do you want to be in? And the third question, for which population? Some examples could be the age group, the diagnosis, a cultural or ethnic group. Some other examples might include children and adolescents struggling with anxiety or depression, individuals in the entertainment business, first generation individuals, etc. Who do you actually want to serve and work with? And the next question, for what type of organization? This refers to organizational qualities and values. Do you want to work for maybe a mission-driven organization, a nonprofit, a faith-based organization, or maybe a place that implements a more holistic approach to treatment? What type of organization do you want to be a part of, and what do you hope that they value? And the last question, how will you set up your career? So this can refer to having a single focus career, meaning you are simply a full-time therapist, or this can refer to having a multifaceted career. And what that means is maybe you wear multiple hats and you have multiple different jobs that kind of add up together to create your full-time career. An example of that might be being a therapist part-time in private practice while also teaching at a university in the evenings. So let's put all the components together to create your career objective, which should be a sentence or two. And if you had trouble filling in some of these columns, or maybe you're unsure about your career objective, even after this exercise, that's totally okay. Feel free to schedule an appointment with Career Services and we can help you clarify it. It's important as the foundation of your job search. So we just spent some time focusing on evaluating your experiences and clarifying your career objective. And before we talk about practical steps that you can start taking, we're going to briefly touch upon employment and labor market. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment of marriage and family therapists is projected to grow 16% from 2020 to 2030, which is much faster than the average for all occupations. There's actually many different career pathways that an MFT can take, and it's not limited to just being a therapist cut and dry. There are direct service positions, which are typically the type of positions where people are providing therapy and other treatment directly to individuals. But there's also supervisory positions, managerial or administrative positions, and even positions that are outside of the field of mental health, such as in higher education. I've seen individuals go into academic advising, program management, etc. And as you know, MFT graduates can specialize or work with particular populations such as substance abuse, children and adolescents, homelessness, etc. You can work in many different types of settings as an MFT. And this is actually a sample list of agencies and organizations where our MFT alums have reported that they work. We get this data from our final destination survey that we send to all graduates and from your clinical training coordinators who keep in touch with alums and employers. So this gives you some examples of where our graduates actually are now, to give you an idea of the type of places that you can look into. You can also use LinkedIn and PepConnect to find out where our alumni work. I'll be showing you how to do that later. Here are some top companies and top cities hiring MFTs in California. The top cities are probably not very surprising. Here's also some data on salary. So this is based on 1,411 advertised salaries, and it includes both licensed and unlicensed positions, which explains the broad range. In job postings for MFTs and therapists, these are the commonly sought after skills. This can really inform how you write your resume and what you say in an interview, so take note of these. So now we're going to shift again. You've reflected on your career goals, you've learned a little bit about what kind of opportunities are out there, and now you're probably thinking, how do I actually find and land these jobs? So I'm going to be going through some action steps that you can take as you prepare to graduate and move forward in the job search to fulfill your career objective. So before we jump in, I do want to mention that most people take a very reactive approach to job searching. And this means chasing after posted jobs and applying through online job boards. But as a modern job seeker, it's really best to take a much more proactive approach. Proactive means that you're pursuing unadvertised jobs or jobs that may not be available yet. The focus of your proactive job search is to be intentional and targeted and get the word out about the value that you provide. So the next few strategies and tips are going to focus on reviewing the components of a more proactive job search. It's never too early to start job searching. You don't have to wait until you receive your BBS number to start applying to jobs. Although you do want to take in mind that sometimes it can take some time for your associate application to be processed. However, employers could still hire you prior to that number even posting. So the process starts by doing your research. Ask yourself, what companies, agencies, or organizations fit with what you want to do? Use the resources on the screen like Handshake, Indeed, Glassdoor, etc. to begin getting an idea of the mental health agencies that are in your area. Even a simple Google search is a good place to start. You can actually also look at the list of practicum sites to find other local mental health organizations in your area. On the third page of your worksheet, there's a box labeled "What organizations do I want to explore?" I'd encourage you to start listing the ones that you're interested in there and keep yourself accountable for learning all that you can about them. This will become your target list. Now, for job titles, keep in mind that there are tons of different job titles that you can search, such as clinician, MFT associate, therapist. Some people only search the phrase AMFT, and they limit their options by doing that. Also, don't assume that just because a job title is clinician, that the employer is only looking for a licensed therapist. You really want to read the job description to see if a position is open to unlicensed associates. Most of the time they are. On your worksheet, there's also a box where you can write in the different job titles you can search. We've started it for you by writing a few examples already. Also, on page 3 of the worksheet we gave you, you'll find a list of resources available. So take a look at that as well to help you throughout this process. Networking is going to be a key strategy in landing your dream job. So ask yourself, how comfortable am I with networking? It can certainly be an intimidating thing, but hopefully the strategies that we cover will help you feel a little bit more confident and comfortable. It's easy to avoid it, but networking is important for a few reasons. First, for furthering your professional development. You learn how to reach out to people, you learn how to present and carry yourself professionally, and you also learn how to speak with others in a very professional manner, which are all skills that you're going to need throughout your career. The second reason is because it helps you gather important career-related information. So you're able to learn from the wisdom of more experienced professionals and hear about their career pathway in order to help you clarify and navigate your own. The third reason is that it helps you develop professional relationships. Through meeting people and getting to know them, you're able to develop these relationships with people in your field who will be your future colleagues. And this actually helps you get to the next point, which is possible career opportunities. Getting a job is always easier when you know someone. You're more likely to land a job through a referral or a contact person than a random posting online. So networking is truly critical here. So you can actually break down networking into 3 steps or phases. The first part is identifying potential connections, or in other words, finding people to connect with. These are some examples of platforms that you can use to connect. So we'll start with LinkedIn, the obvious one, right? If you don't have a profile, now is really the time to create one. One good reason to create a LinkedIn profile is because you're able to tap into our alumni network. LinkedIn has something called an alumni feature, which actually allows you to see all of the alumni from your school and what they're doing now. This easily gives you a pool of people that you can tap into. So PepConnect is another platform that you can use, and this is actually Pepperdine's networking and mentoring platform. It's pretty similar to LinkedIn, but it's specific to Pepperdine, so only students, alumni, faculty, and staff are able to have profiles. There's actually a mentorship feature that is unique to PepConnect, which allows you to find mentors within your field. So go to connect.pepperdine.edu to check that out. And here are a few more ways to identify connections. 1, through professional associations. So join your local chapter of CAMPS or CalPCC. They hold events where you can meet fellow therapists within your community and really get plugged in. Another idea is actually through social media. So feel free to get creative here. Nowadays, you can really branch out from the typical LinkedIn networking to other platforms to actually find people in a less formal way. Plenty of therapists have Instagram or TikTok pages for their businesses, and if you see one that interests you, give them a follow and send them a message. Start that conversation by asking them how they got to be where they are. I actually had a student in one of the classes that I taught that did this, and she was able to form a relationship with a therapist who was further along in their career, who ended up being like a mentor to her and providing her a lot of valuable information. Third, don't forget professors and peers. This is probably the easiest place to start because you already have an established relationship with your professors. So go to their office hours, ask them about their specialties and their experiences on their career path, and for any tips that they might have for you. They usually really love sharing with their students, and they're really used to students asking them these questions. And don't forget that your peers in the program are also another place and another resource to learn from. Once you have actually identified people that you can connect or reconnect with, the next step is to set up a virtual informational interview, or you can call it a career conversation, that you can have with these people to get to know them and learn some information. So you can do this by proposing a brief phone call or maybe a virtual coffee chat over Zoom. The purpose is to gain helpful career information, expand that network, and learn of new opportunities that you might not have known about otherwise. You're reaching out to form a relationship, not ask for a job. So ask for their advice, their insight, their experience, especially if this is a person who works at one of the organizations that you're interested in working at. Revealing how you might fit into their culture and contribute to their needs would really set you apart. This way, even if they're not hiring now, once something does open up, you could have a potential referral person or a contact person who already works there. They can be your bridge person, meaning the connection between you and the organization that you want to work for. So you might be feeling or thinking this right now, and if so, you're not alone. These are the key points that you want in your outreach message. And here's actually an example using ChatGPT. Take advantage of those free resources that are available to you. I would definitely not take this template as is, but instead use it as a starting point and then tailor it to who you are and who you're reaching out to. There are some things I might change the wording of in this template, but you can see that this example includes every point that we mentioned on the previous slide. And here's another example using ChatGPT with slightly different wording. If you'd like additional resources to help you craft and tailor your outreach message, we also have a resource guide on Handshake. You can find it in the resource tab, and it's a fully written out example of what you can say when you're sending a message to somebody online to connect for the first time. You'll notice at the bottom of that tip sheet, there's actually a list of sample questions that you can ask the person that you're meeting with. Take note of that and develop your own list to make sure that you have prepared ahead of time before your conversation to ensure that it's efficient. And remember, networking is all about building relationships. It really doesn't have to be that formal. You're a therapist, so building relationships and rapport is really one of the biggest parts of your job. It's probably something that you can already do well. And there are other less formal ways to network. For example, introduce yourself to somebody in class. Start a study group with your peers. Say hi to a professor or strike up a conversation by asking how their day was. Congratulate someone on an accomplishment, and the list goes on. These are all small actions that you can take that are really stepping stones to building a strong professional relationship. Securing a position or landing a job is really secondary to networking, and it's not the sole reason, but it's the hopeful outcome. So the final piece of networking involves maintaining those connections that you've made. There are really different ways that you can do this. But maintaining relationships, it really does often feel like the hardest part for people. It can feel like a lot to make sure that it's not just that one-time conversation that you have with a person, but it is an important part of this process. There are different ways that you can do it, like I said, But some examples are sending a thank you message after your initial conversation. You always want to do that. You can also check in every so often, maybe once every couple of months, shooting them a message or an email, asking how they are and providing any updates, maybe. Staying up to date on their career as well, maybe through their LinkedIn or maybe things that they've published or posted about. Stay informed on changes in their career, shifts in their work, and you can also share maybe relevant news or articles with them to keep that conversation going. And lastly, you can update them when things change for you too. So consider letting them know if or how they played a part in your next career move or the new opportunity that you got. And lastly, also adding value to that relationship. Offering your time or help can be useful. And it can also give them a chance to get to know how you actually work and can help further build that trust and establish that relationship. Relationships are really a give and take. This person is giving you information, referrals, and new connections, and you can give or offer them something in return too, like your time or your skills. We know it's not always exciting, but it is important, especially for those who are interested in private practice. This is how you can start to get those referrals and build that caseload. So think to yourself, who's one person that you might want to connect or reconnect with after this presentation? And here are some final tips before moving forward. So take a moment to pause and read what's on the slide. So if you need some more support on any of the topics that we covered today, feel free to log into Handshake to make an appointment. And good news is that you'll still have access to career services even as an alum.